Imagine the panic of the spiritual forces that tried to convince you that you were lost. Their mission to derail you has just been hit by a divine and irreversible veto. You believed your confusion was a sign of failure. You mistook God's calculated rerouting for cosmic abandonment. That lie expires today. The feeling of being lost was merely the agonizing sound of God smashing the smaller destiny you settled for. As Napoleon Hill's law dictates, perceived failure is only the shadow cast by a greater, imminent success. You were not lost, you were being aimed. Your collision with this greater destiny is no longer avoidable. You are standing in the dark, and the silence is deafening. For months, maybe years, you have been waiting for the path to reveal itself, convinced that clarity would come like a lightning strike, sudden, unmistakable, undeniable. Instead, there is only confusion. There is only the echo of a life that did not turn out the way you planned, doors that closed when you expected them to open, opportunities that vanished just as your hand reached for them. You have replayed your failures in an endless loop, studying them like a detective, searching for the moment you went wrong, the exact second when you missed the turn that would have led you somewhere better. And in the darkness of that searching, you have come to believe the lie that you are lost. You have accepted it as truth. You have whispered it to yourself in moments when no one else could hear. You are lost. The words have become your identity, your explanation for why everything feels broken, why nothing moves forward, why God seems so far away. But tonight, everything changes. The confusion you feel is not evidence of your failure. It is the sound of a divine veto shattering the smaller destiny you settled for. The chaos you are experiencing is not chaos at all. It is precision. It is the irreversible demolition of every path that was too small to hold what you were actually made to carry. You are not lost. You are being divinely rerouted, and the reroute is already in motion. Imagine the panic in the spiritual realm right now. The forces that tried to convince you that you were lost, abandoned, forgotten, have just been hit by a command they cannot stop, a decree they cannot reverse. Their entire mission to derail you, to keep you small, to convince you that your confusion was a sign of cosmic rejection, that mission just expired. The veto is final. It is irreversible, and it has your name on it. This is the moment when everything shifts, not because your circumstances change, though they will, not because someone suddenly believes in you, though they will, but because you are about to understand the sacred architecture that governs divine intervention. You are about to see that what you called being lost was actually being aimed. What you called failure was actually preparation. What you called abandonment was actually the most intimate form of redirection God could offer, because He loved you too much to let you waste your life on anything less than your true destiny. The coordinates have already been set. The collision course is already active, and you are standing on the edge of the greatest transformation of your life. Stay here. Do not move. Listen. The rerouting is not random. It is not the result of cosmic chaos or bad luck or the universe simply abandoning you. It follows 3 sacred laws, 3 immutable codes that govern how God intervenes in human destiny. These laws have been operating in the lives of the greatest leaders, the most visionary minds, every person who has ever been rerouted from a lesser path to an extraordinary one. Napoleon Hill discovered these laws through decades of studying the most successful people in human history, and what he found was this: failure is not an ending. It is a signal. It is a message written in the language of redirection. The first law is the law of controlled failure, which teaches that every closed door, every rejection, every moment of confusion is actually God clearing the landing zone for something greater. The second law is the law of imposed faith, which demands that you occupy the frequency of your greater destiny before the evidence arrives, that you command the new reality before it manifests in your physical world. The third law is the law of inevitable collision, which guarantees that once the divine veto is issued, once the coordinates are set, your encounter with your true destiny cannot be stopped. It is inevitable. It is written, It is already in motion. These are not suggestions. These are the fundamental principles that operate behind every breakthrough, every miracle, every moment when a lost person suddenly found their way. You are living inside these laws right now, and your compliance is not optional. It is the price of transformation. It is the cost of collision. You believed that the word lost meant finished. You believed it. Meant that somehow you had wandered so far down the wrong path that there was no way back, no path forward, no hope of recovery. You mistook a divine correction for cosmic rejection, and the weight of that misunderstanding has been crushing you under its pressure. But this is where everything changes. Napoleon Hill's first principle shatters that illusion completely, and it shatters it forever. He taught that what the world calls temporary defeat is never the end of the story. It is only the page where the real story begins. In the financial realm, Hill saw men lose everything and rebuild empires bigger than before. In the personal realm, he witnessed ordinary people overcome extraordinary obstacles and become legends in their own lifetimes. What connected all of them was not that they never failed. They all failed. What connected them was how they responded to the failure. They did not accept it as a verdict. They interpreted it as a signal. They heard it as a message from the universe saying, "The path you are on is too small. The destiny you are settling for is beneath your actual capacity. I am redirecting you because I love you too much to let you waste your gifts on anything less than greatness." In the spiritual realm, this signal is not passive. It is not a gentle nudge. It is a veto. It is God Himself stepping into your timeline with absolute authority and saying, "No, not that. This is vetoed. You will not settle for the small destiny you have accepted, because I have prepared something that will break your current understanding of what is possible. The closed door you have been mourning, the path that was cut off just when you thought it was finally opening, the opportunity that vanished at the last second, none of these were accidents. They were protection. They were the divine reroute in action, redirecting your force away from a dead end and toward the collision point where your true destiny is waiting. Stop mourning the old path. That path felt safe, yes, but it was not designed for you. That path felt comfortable, but it was suffocating your true purpose. That path was a trap disguised as a blessing, a detour disguised as a destination, and the only reason you are grieving it is because you have not yet seen what was waiting on the other side of its destruction. The fact that it closed is not evidence of your unworthiness. It is evidence of God's refusal to let you waste your power on anything less than the fullness of what He prepared for you before the foundation of the world was laid. Every moment you spend mourning the old path is a moment you are not investing in the new one. Every tear you shed for what was taken is energy you are not channeling into what is coming. The old path is dead, and your job is not to resurrect it. Your job is to accept its death as a mercy and turn your face toward the new coordinates. Bless the closed door. Do not curse it. Do not rage against it. Do not spend your nights replaying the moment it closed, searching for the mistake that caused it to shut. Instead, speak over it with gratitude. Speak over it with the certainty of someone who understands that the door was not strong enough to hold the weight of your true calling. It collapsed under the pressure of your greater destiny. Its destruction was an act of divine mercy, an act of protection, and your job is to recognize it as such. When you bless the closed door, you are not denying that it hurt. You are not pretending that the loss was not real. You are acknowledging that the loss was necessary. You are accepting that God loved you enough to close that door, and when you can speak gratitude over loss, you have stepped into the frequency of faith that attracts the greater destiny. This is not positive thinking. This is spiritual law. When you change your relationship to the closed door from anger to gratitude, you change the frequency you are broadcasting into the universe, and the frequency you broadcast is the frequency that determines what you attract. Command the greater seed. This is where the transformation becomes active. You must adopt a martial mindset, a mindset of prophetic authority that views every obstacle not as opposition, but as raw material. Every no, is the divine clearing the landing zone. Every rejection is a redirect. Every delay is a recalibration. The old mindset says, I have been rejected, therefore I am not good enough. The new mindset says, I have been redirected, therefore I am being aimed at something greater. This is not a slight difference. This is a fundamental reversal of how you interpret your reality. Hill taught that the starting point of all achievement is desire, and desire must be mixed with faith to become actionable. But faith is not passive. Faith is the decision to occupy the frequency of what you are claiming before you have physical evidence that it is true. When you command the greater seed, you are not begging, you are not pleading, you are speaking from the authority of someone who knows that the veto has been issued, that the redirection is real, that the collision is inevitable. You are commanding it the way a general commands troops, the way a captain commands a ship, the way someone who has already seen the victory commands it into existence. This is the creed you must adopt, and you must speak it with the full weight of your voice and the full certainty of your spirit. My failures are the blueprints of my inevitable victory. Every failure you have experienced has been leaving marks on the blueprint of your greatest success. Every moment of confusion has been an architectural drawing of clarity to come. Every closed door has been an instruction manual on how to walk through the doors that are opening. My obstacles are the raw material of the veto. The obstacles that have seemed to block you have actually been the materials God is using to build your breakthrough. The problem is not that you have obstacles. The problem is that you have not yet recognized them as your raw material. When you can look at an obstacle and see not a wall but a tool, not a barrier but a building block, you have entered the frequency of the reroute. I do not mourn what was taken. I bless it, because it was too small to hold what is coming. This is the revolutionary stance. This is the statement that separates those who get stuck in the old destiny from those who collide with the new one. You are not denying loss. You are celebrating that what was lost was not big enough, not powerful enough, not worthy enough to contain your actual purpose. When you speak this creed with certainty, reality has no choice but to bend. The universe responds to the frequency you broadcast, and the frequency you broadcast is the frequency of someone who has already accepted the reroute and is already walking toward the collision. But there is a consequence to ignoring this law. If you reject the veto, if you continue to cling to the old path, if you spend your energy trying to resurrect what God has smashed to save you, then you will remain stranded. You will be caught between two worlds, unable to go back because the door is closed, unwilling to go forward because you have not yet accepted that the reroute is real. You will spend the rest of your life begging for the very destiny that God already destroyed to protect you. You will ask God why He closed the door. You will beg Him to open it again. You will convince yourself that if you could just go back, if you could just return to the familiar, everything would be okay. But everything will not be okay, because the old path does not lead to fulfillment. It leads to compromise. It leads to the slow death of your true purpose. The old door will never reopen because it was not strong enough to survive the pressure of what you are becoming. Stop knocking on it. Stop mourning it. Stop asking God to reverse the reroute. The redirection is complete, and it is irreversible. The only question left is whether you will match its frequency or remain stranded in the gap between what you are leaving and what is coming. The redirection is complete, and now you must match its frequency. You have the law. You understand the principle. You know that your failure was not a verdict, but a signal, that your confusion was not abandonment, but redirection. Now the second law begins to operate, and this is where your faith becomes active. This is where the reroute moves from being something that happened to you into something you participate in. The new coordinates have been set. The path has been laid out in the invisible realm, but there is a gap between the decree and the manifestation, and that gap is where faith does its most powerful work. The reroute has given you new coordinates, but your doubt is jamming the signal. The old frequency, the frequency of the life that was vetoed, is still broadcasting in your mind like a radio station. You cannot quite turn off. You can feel it. The confusion, the fear. The persistent whisper that maybe you were wrong to trust God with this. Maybe this rerouting is just another word for failure. Maybe you really are lost and there is no greater plan. That whisper is not your voice. It is the echo of the life that was smashed, and it has no authority in your new reality. It is a ghost of a past that no longer exists. It is the sound of a destiny that died so a greater one could be born. But ghosts can be loud. They can be convincing. They can sound almost like truth. The old frequency is still trying to broadcast because it does not yet accept that it is dead. And the moment you listen to that frequency, the moment you amplify that signal, you are creating interference that blocks the new coordinates from manifesting. Napoleon Hill's second law is the law of faith, but this is not the kind of faith that sits passively and waits. This is not the kind of faith that folds your hands and hopes. Something happens. This is imposed faith. This is prophetic faith. This is the kind of faith that commands reality to bend to the new frequency God has assigned you. Hill called it autosuggestion, and he taught that your dominating thoughts, your persistent beliefs, your dominant desires become the instructions that shape your external reality. Your subconscious mind does not know the difference between a thought you repeat 1,000 times and a physical law. It treats your repeated beliefs as commands, and it obeys those commands by reorganizing your perception, your actions, and your circumstances until they align with the frequency you are broadcasting. When you occupy the frequency of the greater destiny with absolute certainty, when you speak and think and act as if the veto is already complete and the collision is assured, you are not pretending, you are obeying. You are aligning with the divine decree that was issued the moment you felt lost. The decree has already been spoken in the invisible realm. Your job is to speak it in the visible realm until the two realms collide. Doubt is the frequency of the old, failed destiny. The greater destiny requires a new, violent signal, a signal so clear and so unshakable that the entire universe has no choice but to respond and reorganize itself around your new coordinates. You must act as if the veto is already complete and the collision is already in motion, because in the realm where God operates, it is. The delay you are experiencing between the decree and the manifestation is not evidence that the reroute failed. It is the gap where your faith does its work. It is the space between the promise and the proof, and that space is sacred. Many people fail in this space. They see the delay, and they interpret it as a sign that nothing is happening. They revert to the old frequency. They start broadcasting doubt again. They begin to negotiate with the whispers that maybe God changed his mind. Maybe the veto was just a momentary impulse. Maybe they really are lost after all. But those who understand the law know better. They understand that the gap between decree and manifestation is exactly where faith must be most fierce, most certain, most unshakable. This is the law of imposed faith, and it is about to transform your life. Silence the old frequency. Every time you feel the whisper of doubt rising, every time you hear the echo of the life that was taken, every time the voice of fear tries to convince you that you have made a terrible mistake, you will cut it off at the root. You do not entertain it. You do not negotiate with it. You do not give it the attention it craves. You command it to leave. You speak your authority over it. You remind it that it belongs to a destiny that is dead, and dead things have no power in a living world. This is not suppression. This is not denial. This is the active replacement of one frequency with another. The old frequency will try to broadcast, but you will not listen. You will not amplify it. You will not give it life by repeating it in your mind or speaking it with your voice. Instead, you will immediately replace it with the new frequency. Command the new reality. This is not wishful thinking. This is not positive affirmations floating in the void. This is the disciplined, martial, prophetic occupation of a future that has already been decreed by divine authority. You are not creating something new. You are claiming what already exists. Hill taught that autosuggestion is the medium through which one may voluntarily feed their subconscious mind with thoughts of a creative nature. And when you feed your mind the absolute certainty of your greater destiny, your subconscious becomes the engine that pulls that destiny from the invisible realm into your physical reality. You are not hoping something happens. You are commanding it into being. You are declaring it with the authority of someone who has already received it. You are not talking about what might happen. You are announcing what is happening and what has already been decided in the throne room of heaven. Speak only from the victory. Every word you speak, every thought you allow to occupy your mind, every action you take must come from the place of already having received what was promised. You do not speak from the waiting. You speak from the arrival. You do not talk like someone who is hoping for transformation. You talk like someone who is already transformed. You do not move like someone who is searching for their destiny. You move like someone who is walking into it. This is not arrogance. This is faith. This is the alignment between your inner knowing and your outer expression. When your words, your thoughts, and your actions all come from the frequency of already received, you close the gap between the invisible and the visible. You become a living bridge between the promise and the proof. This is the creed of the second law, and you must speak it with the authority of someone who has already been crowned by God as the carrier of this greater destiny. My faith is the veto. When you speak with faith, you are speaking with the authority of the divine veto. Every word you speak becomes the mechanism through which the veto is enforced in the physical realm. My word is the smash. Every declaration you make becomes the hammer that breaks down the walls of the old reality and builds the new one. My destiny is non-negotiable. You are not negotiating with God. You are not negotiating with the universe. You are not even negotiating with yourself. Your destiny is decided. It is final. It is non-negotiable. When you speak this with the full weight of prophetic authority, you are not creating something new. You are calling forth what already exists in the divine realm. You are closing the gap between heaven and earth, between decree and manifestation, between what is promised and what is possessed. You are stepping into the frequency that attracts the collision. But if you ignore this law, the reroute stalls. If you go back to broadcasting the old frequency, if you allow doubt to reclaim the signal, if you speak only from the place of not yet received, then you will be stuck between two timelines. You will be paralyzed by the very doubt God tried to smash for you. The old life is gone, but the new life cannot arrive because you are blocking it with the frequency of unbelief. The divine reroute is not a one-time event that happens and then you are done. It is a frequency you must occupy continuously until the evidence appears and proves that what you have been declaring is real. Hill taught that faith is the head chemist of the mind, and when mixed with thought and repeated belief, the subconscious mind instantly picks up the vibration, translates it into its spiritual equivalent, and transmits it to the infinite intelligence. This is not metaphor. This is the law that governs how the invisible becomes visible, how the promised becomes the possessed, how the decree in heaven becomes the reality on earth. You have the path. You have the frequency. You have been given the coordinates. Now you must handle the final resistance before the activation. But before you step into the ritual, before you execute the protocol that will force tangible evidence within 72 hours, you must dissolve the objections that will rise against you. These are the voices that will attempt to derail your faith in the final hours before the manifestation. These are the doubts that sound most convincing precisely because they are disguised as wisdom. Understand them, answer them, and then let them die. The doubt rises like a wall, but the confusion feels so strong. The confusion feels more real than the promise. The pain of the transition feels more present than the joy of the destination. And in that moment, you are tempted to believe that this reroute is leading you into more pain, not less. That you are truly lost and there is no greater plan. That God is not redirecting you, but abandoning you. That the veto was a mistake. That whisper is the echo of the lie that was smashed, and it always screams the loudest right before it dies. This is the final resistance. This is the moment when faith is tested most fiercely. But know this, the divine veto is irreversible. God does not reroute you into failure. He reroutes you out of it. The pain you are feeling is not the pain of being lost. It is the pain of transition. It is the pain of shedding a skin that was too small. It is the pain of watching a destiny die so a greater one can be born. Every person who has ever walked through a divine reroute has felt this exact confusion. Joseph felt it in the prison, convinced that God had forgotten him, not seeing that God was preparing him to save a nation. David felt it in the cave, hunted by Saul, not seeing that God was training him to be a king. Abraham felt it on the mountain, about to sacrifice his only son, not seeing that God was teaching him the deepest form of obedience that would birth a covenant spanning generations. Every one of them stood in the gap between the promise and the proof, and every one of them heard the whisper that maybe God had changed his mind. But the whisper was a lie then, and it is a lie now. The veto stands, the reroute is active, your collision is secured. What if this is just in your head? What if this greater destiny you are claiming is just your imagination, just wishful thinking, just the power of positive thinking dressed up in spiritual language? What if there is no real intervention, no real veto, no real collision coming? This is the objection that attacks the foundation of faith itself. It suggests that you are deluding yourself, that you are manufacturing hope to avoid facing the real disappointment of your life. But consider this. Napoleon Hill did not teach positive thinking as a substitute for reality. He taught that your thoughts create the frequency through which you interpret and interact with reality. Your thoughts are not decorative, they are generative. They create the lens through which you see, and they create the actions through which you move. When you think from the frequency of greater destiny, you automatically see opportunities that others miss. You automatically take actions that others do not take. You automatically move toward situations and people that align with that frequency. This is not imagination. This is the law of how consciousness works. Your mind is not creating the reroute. It is aligning you with the reroute that has already been decreed. Your faith is not creating the destiny. It is positioning you to receive it. But what if your faith is not strong enough? What if everyone else in your life seems to have more certainty, more conviction, more clarity about their purpose, while you still feel weak and wavering? What if your faith cracks under pressure? This is the objection that doubts your capacity to maintain the frequency. But strength is not a prerequisite for faith. Willingness is. Hill taught that faith is the antidote to fear, and the presence of fear does not disqualify you from faith. The only thing that disqualifies you is the refusal to declare faith despite your fear. You do not need unshakable faith. You need faith that is shaken but persists anyway. You need faith that is tested but holds fast. Every giant of history who moved mountains did not start with unwavering certainty. They started with a decision to act as if the promise was true, even when their emotions told them otherwise. Your faith does not need to be strong. It needs to be stubborn. It needs to survive the wave of doubt. It needs to outlast the whisper of fear. What if the barrier is truly too high? What if you are being asked to believe for something that is demonstrably impossible, something that would require a miracle as dramatic as David defeating Goliath, something that seems to defy every law of probability and physics? This is the objection that looks at the size of the barrier and declares it insurmountable. But this is precisely where the divine reroute operates most powerfully. God does not reroute you toward what is statistically probable. He reroutes you toward what is divinely destined. The barrier that looks impossible to you is exactly the space where faith proves its reality. When you command the new frequency in the face of the impossible barrier, you are not denying that the barrier exists. You are declaring that a power greater than the barrier exists, and that power is on your side. This is the law of imposed faith at its most intense. You are not asking. You are not hoping. You are declaring that the barrier will fall, and your declaration becomes the frequency that attracts the power that moves the barrier. When the echo rises, when the doubt threatens to overwhelm you, when the voice of the old frequency tries to convince you that the reroute was a mistake, you do not fight it with more doubt. You do not try to reason with it or negotiate with it or defend yourself against it. Instead, you look at the closed door, the shattered plan, the confusion that feels like chaos, and you speak this with absolute certainty. That path is vetoed. My collision is secured. You say it out loud because sound carries authority. The Hebrews understood this. When they wanted something to become real, they spoke it. They declared it. They did not whisper it in their minds. They spoke it with their voice, and the voice gave it power. You say it with certainty because certainty is the language of faith. You say it as many times as it takes for the echo to fall silent, because the echo has no power against the spoken word of someone who knows they are being rerouted by divine authority. Confusion is the shadow of the veto. It is not the absence of the plan. It is the presence of a plan so large that your current perspective cannot yet contain it. Hill's principle of turning adversity into advantage is not just a motivational concept. It is a spiritual law. Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit, and the adversity you are experiencing right now is not random suffering. It is the seed of the greatest benefit you have ever received, and that seed is about to break open. Now you are ready. Your understanding is complete. You have seen the law of controlled failure, and you understand that your failures are the blueprints of your victory. You have seen the law of imposed faith, and you understand that your declarations are the mechanism through which the invisible becomes visible. You have dissolved the objections that would derail you. Now comes the law of inevitable collision, and this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where faith becomes action. This is where the invisible becomes undeniable. This is the activation. If you are still here, if you are still reading, if you are still willing to align yourself with the divine reroute that has already been issued, then you are ready to cross the threshold. This is the moment where spectators become participants. This is the moment where you stop being someone who is interested in transformation and become someone who is committed to it. The divine reroute requires your compliance, and the protocol you are about to receive is designed to force tangible evidence within 72 hours. This is not optional. This is not a suggestion. This is a command. Comment rerouted below. This is your seal. This is your public declaration that you accept the veto, that you align with the coordinates, that you are ready for the collision. Your presence seals this divine contract. Once you comment, once you declare yourself aligned with the reroute, the machinery of divine intervention accelerates. The evidence begins to appear. The doors begin to open. The signal begins to strengthen. This is the mid-CTA. This is the moment that transforms you from a listener into a participant. Are you ready? Comment REA rooted. Seal the contract. For the next 72 hours, you will execute a ritual that aligns your entire being with the frequency of your greater destiny. And by the end of those 72 hours, you will have proof that the reroute is active. This is not a promise. This is a law. The proof will not be subtle. It will be undeniable. It will be the kind of evidence that silences every doubt, every whisper, every echo of the old life that tried to convince you this was all a mistake. The ritual is simple, but its power is absolute, and your compliance is mandatory. Every morning at 6 o'clock, before your feet even touch the floor, before you check your phone or think about your schedule or open your eyes to the challenges of the day, you will stand. You will stand in the presence of God. You will not be groggy or half asleep. You will come to full alertness. You will read the command verse aloud. The command verse is this: the veto is final, the reroute is active, my collision is inevitable. You will read it 3 times, and each time you will feel the martial certainty of the greater destiny settling into your bones like an anchor, like gravity, like the law of nature itself. This is not repetition for the sake of ritual. This is the deliberate occupation of a frequency. Hill taught that repetition of affirmation leads to belief. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction in your subconscious mind, external circumstances begin to reorganize themselves around that conviction. You are not hoping the veto is final. You are declaring it. You are not wishing the reroute is active. You are commanding it. You are not begging for your collision to be inevitable. You are stating it as fact, because in the realm where God operates, it already is. The morning declaration is the moment when you take control of the frequency before the day takes control of you. During the day, every single time you feel lost, every time the confusion rises, every time the whisper of doubt begins to speak, you will stop. You will not allow the thought to take root and grow. You will not let it metastasize into fear. You will smash it in the moment it appears. You will cut it off at the root. And you will state this with absolute authority. I am not lost. I am being aimed. You will say it out loud if you are alone. You will say it silently if you are in a crowd, but you will say it with the full weight of prophetic authority, and you will feel the truth of it settling into your spirit. This is not denial. This is reality. You are not lost. You have never been lost. You have been in the hands of a God who specializes in rerouting people away from compromise and toward their highest destiny. And He has not let go of you for a single second. Not in your confusion, not in your fear, not in your darkest moment. Every moment of confusion has been a moment of divine adjustment, a recalibration of your trajectory so precise and so intelligent that no human mind could have designed it. The feeling of being lost is the feeling of being aimed, and the impact is coming. Every evening at 10 o'clock, you will give yourself 5 minutes of silence. You will sit or stand in a quiet place where you can be undisturbed. You will visualize the tactical map. You will see the old path behind you, shattered and closed, no longer an option, no longer a temptation. You will see the new path ahead of you, glowing with light and possibility, marked with the coordinates of your destiny. You will see the collision point, the moment when the divine reroute delivers you into the fullness of your greater destiny, and you will feel the impact. You will feel the weight of it, the power of it, the undeniable reality of it. This is not imagination. This is prophetic vision. Hill taught that the subconscious mind makes no distinction between a real experience and one that is vividly imagined, and when you visualize your collision with the certainty of someone who has already arrived, your subconscious becomes the engine that pulls that reality into your physical world. The evening visualization is the moment when you step out of time and into the eternal now, where the promise is already fulfilled and the collision has already happened. You are not creating the future. You are aligning with it. You are not manifesting something that does not exist. You are stepping into something that already exists in the invisible realm, and you are bringing it into physical form through your alignment. This ritual is not a request. This is your formal acceptance of the divine reroute and the immediate acceleration of your collision. Discipline is the key. If you miss a morning, you start the 3 days over. If you allow the doubt to grow unchecked during the day, you weaken the signal. If you skip the evening visualization, you delay the evidence. This is not punishment. This is law. Hill taught that there is no such thing as something for nothing, and the price of your greater destiny is the discipline to occupy its frequency until the manifestation appears. The price is high, but the reward is everything. But you are not paying this price alone. God is moving on your behalf. The divine machinery is accelerating. The collision is becoming inevitable. During these 72 hours, you will also implement a system of evidence. This is the mechanism that transforms the waiting into a testimony. Every small thing that happens that could not have happened on the old path, a new thought, a chance conversation, a door that opens, a barrier that falls away, a person who appears exactly when you need them, a coincidence that is too perfect to be random. You will acknowledge it. You will write it down. You will recognize it as the veto in action. You will see it as evidence that the reroute is real and the collision is coming. Keep a small journal or a note on your phone. Every evening, before your visualization, you will record the evidence of the day. A conversation that shifted your perspective, an opportunity that appeared, a closed door that was actually a redirect, a moment of clarity that was not there yesterday. By the end of 72 hours, you will have a documented trail of evidence that proves the divine reroute is not imagination. It is reality. It is law. It is the collision beginning to manifest. The lie is broken. The veto stands. Your confusion was your baptism by fire into a greater destiny, and the fire did not destroy you. It refined you. It burned away everything that was too small, too weak, too comfortable to survive the collision that is coming. You are not the same person who believed they were lost. That person is dead. That person has been cremated in the fire of the reroute. You are the person who has been chosen, prepared, and divinely aimed at a collision with your greatest purpose. You are no longer the person who was waiting. You are the person who is receiving. You are the living evidence of a God who reroutes human destiny with precision, with power, with an accuracy that no human strategist could ever match. The coordinates he has given you are final. There is no appeal. There is no revision. There is no escape clause. There is only obedience, and obedience leads to collision. You will stand now and speak this oath with the full conviction of your voice and the full authority of your spirit. I am not lost. I am the collision. I accept the reroute. Say it out loud. Say it with the weight of prophetic authority. Say it until you feel the shift, until the old frequency dies and the new frequency takes its place. Say it until your body trembles with the certainty of it. This is not a prayer request. This is not a hope. This is a declaration of war against every lie that tried to convince you that the veto was a mistake. When you speak this oath, you are closing the door on the old destiny forever. You are burning the bridges that led back to the life that was vetoed. You are committing yourself irrevocably to the collision that awaits. Your mission for the next 24 hours is simple and non-negotiable. Find one piece of evidence that the reroute is active. It will not be massive. It will not be the full collision, but it will be undeniable. A closed door, a new idea, a strange coincidence, a conversation that could not have happened on the old path, a feeling of peace that was not there before. When you see it, when you encounter it, acknowledge it as the veto in action. Speak over it with gratitude. Thank God for the proof that He is moving, that the reroute is real, that the collision is inevitable. Do not dismiss it as luck or chance or coincidence. This is divine law in motion. This is the signature of God. Every small piece of evidence is a confirmation that the larger evidence is coming. The coordinates are set. The impact is imminent. You are no longer the person who was lost. You are the living evidence of the God who reroutes human destiny, and your collision with your greater purpose is no longer avoidable. The countdown has already begun, but this is not where the story ends. This is where it truly begins. The 72 hours you have just activated are not simply a waiting period, a gap between the promise and the proof. They are the threshold into a completely different reality. A reality where you stop being someone who is interested in transformation and become someone who is living it. The evidence you are about to collect will not be abstract. It will not be theoretical. It will be tangible, documented, undeniable proof that God moves in your life with precision that transcends human understanding. And more than that, the evidence will become your testimony. It will become the foundation of a new identity. It will become the proof you show to yourself on nights when doubt tries to rise, and it will become the beacon you shine for others who are standing where you stood, lost and confused, convinced that they have been abandoned by God. By the end of 72 hours, you will not just believe the reroute is real. You will have lived it. You will have documented it. You will have felt it move through every area of your life. But the system of evidence must become more than a moment of recognition. It must become a living, breathing practice that grows stronger each day. This is where most people fail in their pursuit of transformation. They experience one piece of evidence. They feel one moment of divine confirmation. Their faith spikes. But then the day becomes normal again. The mundane returns. The doubt creeps back, and they slip back into the old frequency, wondering if the moment of confirmation was real or if they imagined it. The system of evidence is specifically designed to prevent this collapse. It is designed to transform the entire waiting period into a daily documentation of divine intervention, so that by the time you reach day 30, by the time you reach day 60, by the time you reach day 90, you have built an undeniable fortress of proof. You have created a narrative so clear, so powerful, so thoroughly documented that no amount of doubt can shake it. Here is how the system works. Every morning, when you wake and speak the command verse before your feet touch the floor, you are not starting from zero. You are building on the evidence from the day before. Every evening, when you sit in silence and visualize the collision, and then you open your journal and record what happened during that day, you are not just listing events like items on a grocery list. You are creating a timeline of redirection. You are building a narrative arc where God is the main character, and you are the one being repositioned by his hand. By day 7, you will have 7 pieces of evidence. By day 14, you will have 14. By day 21, you will have 21. By day 30, you will have 30 undeniable moments when God moved in your life with such precision that no rational person could dismiss it as coincidence. The cumulative weight of that evidence becomes something powerful. It becomes a fortress. It becomes proof against every doubt that will ever rise against you. The first week is the foundation phase, and your job during this phase is to recognize and record the small redirections, not the massive miracles, not the dramatic interventions, but the breadcrumbs, a thought that appears exactly when you need it, a thought that you did not consciously generate, but that solves a problem you have been wrestling with, a conversation that happens at exactly the right moment, a conversation with someone who could not have known what you needed to hear, yet they say exactly what you need to hear, a delay that turns out to be protection. You miss a bus and later discover there was an accident on that route. You do not get the job you were hoping for, and 2 months later you realize that staying in your old position actually opened a door that you could not have seen before, a closed door that saves you from a trap. You stop pursuing something because you lose interest, and months later you discover that pursuing it would have led you into a disaster. These are the breadcrumbs, and your job is to recognize them and record them. During the foundation phase, you are not looking for massive miracles. You are training your perception to see the divine hand in the everyday. You are learning to recognize what Hill called the sixth sense, the ability to perceive patterns that others miss, to sense the presence of divine guidance in the mundane details of life. When you can see God moving in the small things, when you can recognize the veto operating in the ordinary moments of your day, your faith undergoes a fundamental shift. It stops being theoretical. It becomes experiential. You are no longer believing in a reroute. You are living in one. Every piece of evidence you record during this first week is a line in the story of how God redirected you from a destiny that was too small to a destiny that is infinite. You write it down, you date it, you include the details. This is your testimony being born, and the birth is happening in real time. The second week is the acceleration phase. By now, the evidence is becoming undeniable. You have moved beyond the realm of coincidence and into the realm of pattern. A pattern suggests intention. A pattern suggests design. A pattern suggests that something intelligent is organizing your life, and that something is not your conscious mind. You are beginning to see that the reroute is not random. It is strategic. It is precise. It is the work of a mind that knows you completely, that loves you absolutely, and that is committed to redirecting you away from every compromise toward the fullness of your calling. During this week, God is not just closing doors. He is opening new ones. He is introducing people into your life who could not have appeared on the old path, people who have exactly the skills or the connections or the wisdom you need. He is putting ideas into your mind that do not come from your current circumstances, ideas that are bigger than your current thinking, ideas that show you possibilities you never considered before. He is creating opportunities that should not exist but do. Someone calls you with a job offer even though you have not been looking. Someone sends you information that solves a problem you mentioned once in passing. Someone believes in you in a way that no one in your old life believed in you. The acceleration phase is when your faith begins to transform from faith as effort into faith as knowing. You are no longer trying to believe. You are responding to what you are experiencing. Your job during this second week is the same as the first week. Observe and record. But now you are observing with deeper recognition. The system of evidence is accelerating. The journal is growing thicker. The proof is mounting. The third week is the manifestation phase. This is when the evidence begins to consolidate. The pieces are coming together in ways that you could not have orchestrated. The pattern is becoming so undeniable that you cannot deny it is divine. The reroute is no longer a hidden operation happening in the background. It is becoming visible in your circumstances. A door opens that you have been knocking on for months or years. A person calls who can help you move forward. A solution appears to a problem that seemed impossible. A barrier that was blocking you suddenly moves. The reroute is delivering you. It is completing what it began. And when it does, you document it, you celebrate it, you add it to the testimony. This is the moment when you understand that your 72-hour ritual was not an isolated event that happened and then ended. It was the beginning of a continuous alignment with the frequency of your greater destiny, an alignment that will continue accelerating beyond day 3, beyond day 7, beyond day 30. But this does not end at 30 days. The system of evidence is designed to carry you through 60 days and 90 days and beyond. This is the testimony cycle, and it is the architecture that transforms a moment of breakthrough into a lifetime of alignment. The cycle works like this: 30 days to establish the foundation of evidence, 30 days to deepen the pattern and strengthen the manifestation, 30 days to fully embody the new identity and claim the collision and become the living proof. At 30 days, you will look back and see the trail of redirection laid out before you. You will have documented proof written in your own hand that God moved in your life. You will be able to read the entries and see the pattern. You will understand that what felt like random events were actually precise orchestrations. You will know, without any doubt, that the reroute is real. At 60 days, you will see the manifestation accelerating beyond what it was at 30 days. The pieces will be moving faster. The evidence will be coming thicker, closer together, with less time between confirmations. The collision is drawing near. People will begin to notice the change in you. They will see something different. They will sense an alignment, a peace, a certainty that was not there before. They will ask you what happened. They will want to know how you changed so dramatically in just 2 months. And you will tell them, I was rerouted. I was redirected from a destiny I had settled for, a destiny that was too small to hold what I was made to carry, to a destiny that God prepared for me before I was born. I was aimed at collision, and the collision is happening. I have the evidence. I have the testimony. I can show you how the veto operates. I can show you the trail of redirection. At 90 days, you will be living in the new reality. You will have moved so completely into the frequency of your greater destiny that the old path will seem like a dream, like a life someone else lived, like a destiny that belonged to someone you used to be. The person who felt lost 30 days ago was a different version of you. The person who felt confused 60 days ago was in transition. But the person you are at day 90 is someone who has been remade. You will be able to help others who are standing where you stood, lost and confused, convinced that they have been abandoned by God, certain that their confusion was a sign of their failure. You will be able to tell them, I have been where you are. I know the darkness. I know the doubt. I know the voice that whispers that maybe you are delusional. Maybe God does not care about you. Maybe the reroute is just a story you are telling yourself. But I also know what it looks like when God reroutes a human life. Let me show you the evidence. Let me show you the trail of redirection. Let me show you how the veto operates. Let me share with you the system that will transform your waiting into testimony. This is the power of the testimony cycle. It is not just about manifesting a greater destiny. It is not just about achieving a goal or reaching a destination. It is about becoming the living proof that God intervenes in human life, that His timing is perfect, that His strategy is flawless, that collision with true destiny is not a matter of luck or chance or favorable circumstances. It is a matter of law. The evidence you document is not just for you. It is a gift to everyone who will eventually stand in your presence and ask you how you found your way out of the darkness. The journal you keep is not just a record. It is a legacy. It is the documented testimony of divine intervention in your life, and it will outlast you. It will inspire people you have not even met yet. It will prove to a generation that God is real, that He is moving, that His hand is upon those who align themselves with His frequency. There are principles that must be spoken, truths that must be declared, mirror lines that must become part of your daily reality during this journey. These are not affirmations that float in the void like positive thinking divorced from reality. These are declarations of law, statements of spiritual reality that, when spoken with authority and conviction, begin to restructure your internal world and reorganize your external circumstances. You have already spoken some of them in the activation ritual. The veto is final. The reroute is active. My collision is inevitable. I am not lost. I am being aimed. These are the foundational declarations, and they must be spoken with such certainty that your subconscious mind accepts them as fact. But there are others, and they must be woven into the fabric of your daily speech, your internal monologue, your way of interpreting your reality. They are the mirror lines that reflect back to you the truth of what is happening. Every closed door is a redirect. This is the principle that transforms your relationship to rejection. You no longer see a closed door as evidence of your unworthiness. You no longer interpret rejection as a verdict on your capacity or your value. Instead, you see every closed door as information, as guidance, as the divine veto protecting you from a path that would lead you away from your greater destiny. When you can say this and truly believe it in your bones, your entire emotional response to rejection changes. You stop grieving what was taken, and you start celebrating what was saved. You stop asking God why He closed the door, and you start thanking Him for protecting you from the path beyond it. My confusion was my compass. This is the principle that transforms your relationship to uncertainty. In the old frequency, confusion was the enemy. Confusion meant you were lost. Confusion meant you had failed. Confusion meant something was wrong with you. But in the new frequency, confusion is information. It is the signal that you are being repositioned. It is the evidence that your coordinates are being recalibrated by a power greater than yourself. When you are confused, you are not failing. You are being aimed. The confusion is the sound of the divine machinery working, the rearrangement of your life, so that you will collide with your true destiny instead of settling for the life you thought was your only option. When you can say this and feel it in your body, when you can recognize confusion as compass rather than catastrophe, the anxiety around uncertainty dissolves. You stop fighting it. You stop resisting it. You stop trying to force clarity before you are ready. You surrender to it, trusting that it is serving you in ways you cannot yet see. The delay is my protection. This is the principle that transforms your relationship to timing. In the old frequency, delay was evidence that God was not moving, that He had forgotten your name, that the promise was not real. But in the new frequency, delay is a sign that God is timing the delivery with such precision that all the pieces are in place before the breakthrough arrives. Delay is not denial. It is divine strategy. It is the universe making sure that you are ready, that the circumstances are aligned, that the people who need to be involved are in position. When you can say this and know it in your bones, impatience becomes irrelevant. Frustration becomes unnecessary. You stop pushing the door that is not yet ready to open. You stop trying to force the timing. You start receiving the timing. You start trusting that when God opens the door, it will be the right door at the right time with the right opportunity on the other side. My faith is a force. This is the principle that transforms your relationship to belief itself. In the old paradigm, faith was a passive emotional state, something you hoped to feel on a good day, something that was dependent on your mood or your circumstances or whether you had gotten enough sleep. But in the new paradigm, faith is an active power. It is the mechanism through which the invisible becomes visible. It is the force that pulls your destiny from the realm of divine promise into the realm of human possession. When you speak this and command it, your subconscious mind begins to treat faith not as a luxury but as a tool. Every act of faith becomes an act of creation. Every declaration becomes a force that shapes reality. Hill taught this. Every great achiever he studied understood that faith was not a feeling. It was a force. It was power. It was the mechanism that turned dreams into destinies. The evidence is accumulating. This is the principle of continuous recognition. In the old frequency, you were waiting for one massive piece of proof, one dramatic intervention that would prove once and for all that God was real and the reroute was happening. But in the new frequency, you understand that the proof is not one massive event. The proof is the accumulation of many small events. The evidence is not a lightning strike. It is a current. It is flowing around you and through you continuously. Each small evidence adds to the weight. The cumulative testimony becomes undeniable. When you say this daily and mean it, you train your mind to see the pattern instead of focusing on the isolated event. You begin to perceive the larger current that is carrying you toward collision. The evidence is not one door opening. It is many doors opening. The evidence is not one conversation. It is many conversations. The evidence is the trajectory of your life changing so that you are no longer moving toward the old destiny. You are moving toward the new one. I am not the problem. The reroute is the solution. This is the principle that separates those who get stuck in self-blame from those who move forward in faith and momentum. In the old frequency, you looked at the closed door and asked yourself what you did wrong. You studied yourself, trying to find the flaw, the mistake, the failure that caused the rejection. You tried to fix yourself so that the old path would reopen. You tried to become someone else so that you would deserve the destiny you had settled for. But in the new frequency, you understand that you were not the problem. Your small thinking was the problem. Your willingness to settle was the problem. Your acceptance of a lesser destiny was the problem. And the reroute is God's solution to that problem. It is not punishment. It is rescue. It is not rejection. It is redirection. When you can say this and believe it, shame loses its power over you. You stop apologizing for the closed door. You stop trying to explain why it happened. You start thanking God for the intervention that protected you from wasting your life on anything less than your true calling. God sees what I cannot see. This is the principle that dissolves the illusion of control. In the old frequency, you believed that you needed to understand everything before you could trust anything. You needed the full explanation. You needed to see the entire map. You needed to know how the story would end. But in the new frequency, you accept that God's vision is larger than your vision. His intelligence is greater than your intelligence. His strategy is more sophisticated than your strategy. His timeline is perfect, even when it seems slow to you. When you speak this, you release the burden of having to figure everything out. You step into the posture of trust. You stop demanding explanations. You accept that there are pieces of the puzzle that you cannot see yet, and that is fine. That is exactly how it should be. Your job is not to see the entire blueprint. Your job is to take the next step. I am being aimed at something greater. This is the principle that transforms your identity from lost person to directed person. This is the foundational shift that changes everything. In the old frequency, you were lost. You were wandering. You were confused. You had no direction. You were the victim of circumstances. You were floating without rudder or sail in a storm you did not choose. But in the new frequency, you are being aimed. You are not wandering. You are being precisely positioned. You are not confused. You are being recalibrated. You are not delayed. You are being prepared. This single shift in how you perceive yourself changes everything. You stop defending yourself against the accusations of others that you are lost. You stop internalizing the narrative that something is wrong with you. You acknowledge that yes, you feel lost, but you are not lost. You are in the process of being precisely aimed at a collision with your true destiny. This collision cannot be avoided. It is inevitable. When you say this daily, when you embody this truth, you move out of the victim narrative and into the chosen narrative. You are no longer the person something happened to. You are the person God is preparing for something greater. The veto is active in my life right now. This is the principle of present tense reality. It is perhaps the most powerful of all the mirror lines because it collapses the gap between promise and manifestation. In the old frequency, you were waiting for the veto to become active. You were hoping it would happen. You were praying it would start working. But in the new frequency, you declare that it is already active now. The reroute is not coming. It is here. The collision is not approaching. It is beginning. When you speak in present tense, when you declare what is already true in the invisible realm, your subconscious mind accepts the present as reality. It stops looking for the future. It stops waiting for proof. It begins to organize your perceptions and your actions to align with the present that you have declared. You are not speaking into a future that does not yet exist. You are acknowledging a present that already exists in the realm of divine law, the realm of spiritual reality where God operates. My life is proof of God's power. This is the final mirror line, the culmination of all the others. In the old frequency, you were nothing. You were lost. You were confused. You were evidence of failure and abandonment. But in the new frequency, you are living testimony. You are the proof. Your life is the document. Your story is the evidence. Every piece of evidence you record, every entry in your journal, every moment of alignment that you acknowledge is adding to your testimony. Your life is becoming proof that God moves, that He intervenes, that He reroutes human destinies with precision and power. When you can say this and mean it, you understand that you are no longer just pursuing a greater destiny. You are becoming the walking, talking, living proof that greater destiny is real and available and achievable for anyone who will align themselves with the coming frequency of the reroute. These mirror lines, these declarations of law, must be spoken not as affirmations that float in the void, but as statements of fact, as declarations of reality. They must be spoken with the certainty of someone who has already received what was promised. They must be woven into the fabric of your daily life, whispered when you are alone, declared when you are with others who will understand, written in your journal so that you can see them reflected back to you when doubt rises. By the time you reach day 30, by the time you reach day 60, by the time you reach day 90, these declarations will have become so much a part of you that you will no longer be speaking them as external statements. You will be living them. You will be embodying them. You will be the living proof that the veto is real, that the reroute is active, that collision with true destiny is not a matter of hope or wishful thinking. It is a matter of law. Are you following me? Are you with me? Can you feel the shift beginning to happen inside you right now? This is the moment where you make the decision. This is the threshold. You can turn back. You can dismiss this as spiritual fantasy, as wishful thinking dressed up in religious language. You can go back to the old frequency. Go back to mourning the closed door. Go back to accepting that you are lost and there is no greater plan. Or you can cross the threshold. You can commit to the ritual. You can implement the system of evidence. You can speak the mirror lines daily. You can occupy the frequency of your greater destiny. You can document the proof. You can become the testimony. This moment right here, this is your choice. Not later, not after you feel more ready, not after you have more evidence. Right now, what will you choose? During this journey through 30 and 60 and 90 days, the The ritual continues unbroken. Every morning at 6 o'clock, you stand and speak the command verse. The veto is final. The reroute is active. My collision is inevitable. You speak it 3 times. You feel the weight of prophetic authority settling into your bones. Every day, multiple times, when the doubt rises and the old frequency tries to broadcast, you smash it and declare, I am not lost. I am being aimed. You do not entertain the doubt. You do not negotiate with it. You cut it off at the root and you replace it with the new frequency. Every evening at 10 o'clock, you visualize the collision. You see the old path behind you, shattered and closed. You see the new path ahead of you, glowing with light. You see the collision point. You feel the impact. And then you open your journal and you record the evidence. A thought, a conversation, a delay that became protection, a closed door that saved you. You date it, you describe it, you add it to the growing testimony. The ritual does not change, the discipline does not weaken, but the ritual deepens. Each time you speak the command verse, it lands deeper in your consciousness. Each time you declare your alignment, it broadcasts a stronger signal. Each time you visualize the collision, you step further out of time and into the eternal reality where the promise is already fulfilled. By day 30, you will not be forcing the ritual. The ritual will be as natural as breathing. You will wake up and the command verse will be on your lips before you have even thought about it. You will feel the doubt rising and your response will be immediate and automatic. You will sit down and the visualization will be so vivid, so real, so present, that you will feel like you are already living in the collision. This is the second law operating in full force. This is imposed faith becoming natural faith. This is the frequency becoming your baseline instead of your aspiration. You are no longer reaching for alignment. You are living in it. And as you live in it, as you occupy this frequency with your entire being, the invisible realm begins to crash into the visible realm. The evidence accelerates. The doors open faster. The people appear exactly when you need them. The ideas come with increasing clarity. The timing becomes so precise that you cannot deny it is divine. The barrier that seemed immovable suddenly moves. The opportunity that seemed impossible suddenly appears. The contradiction that seemed unsolvable suddenly resolves. By week 3, by week 4, by day 30, you will be living in a reality that is so completely different from the reality you inhabited 30 days ago that you will marvel. You will marvel at how you ever accepted the small destiny you settled for. You will marvel at how you ever believed you were lost, because now you see, now you understand. You were never lost. You were being aimed, and the aim was perfect. The collision is inevitable, and it is already beginning. Now you understand. The choice has been made. You have crossed the threshold. This is the law of inevitable collision, and this is the activation. Everything you have been prepared for has been leading to this moment. The veto has been issued. The coordinates have been set. Now the protocol transforms the decree into reality. For the next 72 hours, you will execute a ritual so precise, so disciplined, that by the end, the evidence will be undeniable. This is mandatory. Your compliance is the mechanism through which the invisible becomes visible. Every morning at 6 o'clock, before your feet touch the floor, you will stand. You will read the command verse aloud 3 times. The veto is final. The reroute is active. My collision is inevitable. Each repetition lands deeper. By the 3rd, you are not hoping. You are not wishing. You are commanding. You are stating it as fact, because in the realm where God operates, it already is. During the day, every time the doubt rises, you will stop and cut it off at the root. I am not lost. I am being aimed. You will say it with the full weight of prophetic authority. The feeling of being lost is the feeling of being aimed, and the bullet is already in flight. Every evening at 10 o'clock, you will visualize for 5 minutes. You will see the old path behind you, destroyed. You will see the new path ahead, glowing with light. You will see the collision point and feel the impact. This is not imagination. This is prophetic vision. Your subconscious becomes the engine that pulls that destiny into physical reality. When the counterforce rises, when the doubt becomes overwhelming, you will speak this with absolute authority. You have no power here. This veto is final. This reroute is irreversible. My collision is inevitable. The moment you speak this, the frequency shifts. The attack loses its power. The evidence will arrive in three forms. Internal evidence, the anxiety gone, a peace that does not depend on circumstances. Interpersonal evidence, people notice the change, believe in you, open doors. Circumstantial evidence, a door opens, a barrier falls, a person appears, your circumstances reorganize around your new frequency. Do not dismiss any of it. Celebrate it, write it down, add it to your testimony. You will stand now and speak the oath that seals your commitment. I am not lost. I am the collision. I accept the reroute. Speak it out loud. Speak it with the full weight of your voice and spirit. This is not a prayer request. This is a declaration of war against every lie that tried to convince you the veto was a mistake. When you speak this oath, you are closing the door on the old destiny forever. Your mission for the next 24 hours. Find one piece of evidence that the reroute is active. One piece. It will be small. A thought, a conversation, a delay that becomes protection. From Sations, a finded 5. When you see it, acknowledge it immediately as the veto in action. Speak over it with gratitude. Write it down. Celebrate it. This is divine law in motion. This is the signature of God. The coordinates are set. The impact is imminent. You are no longer the person who was lost. You are the living evidence of the God who reroutes human destiny. Your collision with your greatest purpose is no longer avoidable. It is inevitable. It is written. It is sealed. The countdown has begun. The veto is final. The reroute is active. Your collision is inevitable.